Okay. This is my thoughts on daily ops, okay? That and various suggestions, okay? What are tooltips because effective or information and whatnot. Resource things of things I know, and this is because effective. I do daily ops every single day with 4 characters. I do different builds on something, so but yeah. Um Daily ops is a could be a short mission based thing, group for accumulating ammo. Daily ops is actually pretty useful for getting script if you're already scripted out for the day, or scriptable items. You could do it too. You can get between 1 and 3 star stuff though, but yeah, it's pretty good for that though. Now here's a cool trick. I would have actually asked in the lead design for Daily Ops to verify this was true at the time. So helpful. I'm just going to say a little cool tips first. So the Daily Ops is actually you can get like up to like if it's not double, you can get up to 200, and during double mutations, you get up to 400. Yeah, 400. So yeah, but that's the first time. Follow ups is 50 and 100 basically. 50 for non-double and 100 for double. It's a chance up to that value. Just an FYI, it's a chance up to. It won't. It's not a guarantee. So yeah, but yeah, ammo varies between weapons. So just an FYI. So it's every enemy has a base upon stuff or when they die for the things. There's some weapons that are core bases are exception. There is also some other weapons that are another exclusion point, like the Tesla is still bugged right now. I still get random ammo for that. Oh, and melee weapons, you'll get random stuff for that too. So that's a thing too. But you got 2 different modes. There's uplink, and then there's decryption. Uplink, basically, you're just going from point to point to point, sitting on something. For 2 points, you're actually sitting on things. And the rest is actually like you purchase things and you just leave to the boss. Pretty simple, cut dry. But I'll give strategies for every area, like the location by location, thought process on various stuff. So I'll do that though. Now decryption is basically seek and destroy. So here's a helpful hint though. During decryption, don't go gun ho. If you're already gone the required amount to get the next lead to actually go kill the target just to go disable the machine. Stop killing. If you're not near the thing, try not to kill them. Then, biggest suggestion, that's how you get the best time. I've got 2 minutes 47 seconds as my best time daily ops is decryption. Trust me when I say that, it is the best doing that, if you can. I understand there are situations where you do need to kill to survive. I can understand that though. And for the love of God, if anyone says that armor does not matter during decryption, it doesn't know squat. It's not a 100% armor penetration. They do not go 100% through your armor. I don't care what anyone has to say. I've actually tested this. It's not that hard to literally look at the numbers, what an enemy's doing. They do not have 100%. It's probably 75%? Something. Somewhere in that range. But it's not 100%. No way. So stuff like Vanguard will add up. Overears is useful too, for most generals part though. But yeah. Now I'm gonna go to basically talk about locations. This is suggestions based upon various aspects to handling for kind of give you a feel for some things, and suggestions on routes to kind of go for certain things. So I'll start with my most hardest location of all. Arctos Pharma. Arctos Pharma is, in all due honesty, I think Arctos is the most hardest of all locations. Big old circle, 3 areas and such so, but has a sort of weird path between them though. I tried to learn that route. I still don't know. It's basically sections A, B, and C. There are people way more advanced than that about that than me. It's really wide and open. So if you ever get like something like resilient enemies, it's not that bad because they don't like to clutter around. A lot of the bigger areas are like that, so the enemies don't clutter, they spread out more. So, alright. Next one I'm going to go through is Uncanny Caverns. So, Uncanny Caverns is basically a circle with exterior points that point out and a few areas where you can go in between certain areas to meet another run, though. It's pretty rinse and repeat for that. So, during uplink, Site Alpha, I've always noticed it's bugs out and does more time than the beta, the second one though, for the repeaters though. But during like decryption, it's pretty much just, I would tell people to split up between 2 areas, one right, one left, and that's basically it, and just kind of try not to bump into each other basically and diverge and all that. There's this one section that's like a big old thing. Yeah. It's near one of the repeaters. It's like out of the circle, basically. It's the only one like that, though. There's a repeater near the entrance, and there's one through a slight near the circle, whatever. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Now, Vault 94 and 96. I'm gonna bundle these both together because seriously, they're so much alike. But there's actually some descriptions I'm gonna have to give on it, though. So, Vault 94, I'll say this first for Vault 94. And there is certain aspects about them, though, for decryption that they're similar. So if you don't want to get lost, you use that as a cheat sheet. So, Vault 94, during uplink, I tend to, when you get the repeater, the first repeater thing, and then you want to go to the thing for actually to start the machine up, just so you can park your happy butt on the thing, though, I tend to go to the left side, actually. There's like the, when you're walking into the atrium, there's the left side. There's a path that leads up to it and all that. The reason why is pretty simple. The reason, you'll laugh at this, is because the fact of you can take a running fall, and if you angle it just right, you can just keep moving. And whereas someone may not have marsupial, and that path tends to be lengthier maneuverability because of that very fact. So going that route is slower, usually because you never know if someone on your team does not have marsupial, or maybe you don't have it because you like to be more smarter and you like more experience. Total option, A lot of ways you can play the game. I only have one character that does not have marsupial. The other 3 do. But I still like to think of other people. And who knows, you might actually get a newbie that will literally jump out the vault and wants to just join right up to daily apps. I've literally done it, I don't even know how many times. And yes, it is fully doable. Uplink is easier, though, for them, though. Decryption's like well, I guess you could share Ricochet, which Ricochet is actually like, that's their one way to shine. So if they actually take a massive amount of damage and Ricochet is off them, all of that damage translates to the next enemy, and next time you see an enemy, hey, they're weak as can be! But, yeah, pretty simple. When you go to the Vault 94, anyways, back to this. Vault 94, once you get down with the left side, you go, easiest thing for Vault 94 and Vault 96 is, if you ever want to don't get lost, go to the atrium. Always go to the atrium, okay? So, I'm not going to talk about where the boss spawns, because usually it spawns 2 different subsections. that. But reactor room's pretty simple. You just park yourself between the two reactors once it's started up, and that's it. Now, during decryption, if you ever want to not get lost during decryption, this is the same thing for Vault 96. Remember to use the atrium part. It's basically a big old T shape for the place, okay? There is subsections and such, though, that lead to some other things, though. But it's mostly overall a T-shaped, literally a T. Whereas, well, 96 is basically flipped upside, but still a T. So if you ever want to not get lost, remember that. Go to the atrium not to get lost. Center room, basically. But, yeah. Now, as for 96. 96 is basically a giant freezer, basically, but decryption, there isn't really much to say. I literally said the piece for 94, though, so I'm going to talk about uplink. So, here's the thing. For, instead of going left, or uplink, I start going right, actually. So, when you're doing it, you go there. It's a really simple area. You don't really need a description about the right side. From there, you go to the atrium part. Again, once you want that. But anything, like, you only need one person to really go further than anyone else, though. And most other ones, like the layups, I do that as well. Always one person goes ahead to try to rush to the machine just to start up. So by the time other people get there, it's already started. They just have to wait. That's it. Really simple. So, now, as for Vault 96, I call it the left side. The left side, you have one person race to below to start the machine, but you could actually, there's a little hanging thing on above and such, though, which leads a straight path right to the atrium. You could actually have everyone park yourself right there. There's a T junction, or a cross junction and such, though. The back area, which is basically the fault thing, you don't have to worry about enemies spawning there, okay? You can you can move yourself a little bit forward, and you can actually scope off from one angle to the other, and there's a twin path you can go basically right through here, and you can literally scope out. You can just, there's remember there's like a box of the area you could actually stand in, so don't go past those things, and you're in the area. You don't need to be right below. It's so convoluted going in that below area. And not to mention, when the machine's ready, all that time of you standing down there means you have to go all the way through this thing. Some convoluted path, and you don't have to. You could just go run straight through the atrium, and that's it. Like, run right to the atrium, the hallway. A little slight curve and thing, but then from there you go atrium, and then you go literally straight up. You go straight up, a little turn out that, go to the one thing, and enemies kind of spread out over there. I don't really need to talk about where exactly you're looking because it's kind of obvious. Most times that kind of centers out and just, that's it. And that's literally 96 strategy. It's not as hard as you think, though. And it's actually one of the quicker vaults. At least one location is quick, though. Now, West-Tech. West-Tech, during decryption and then uplink, most people know West-Tech. They know the area, mostly because of the fact that West-Tech's an experienced farming area. Because of the Supermans and all that, they produce quite a big experience. So, most everyone knows that, so I don't really think there's much to really expand on. For anything else, uplink is basically, there's agricultural wing and then there's the sciencey wing. But for decryption, it's basically the agricultural wing. There's actually like a Giants hub thing, which is the thing, but that's for the uplink though. But decryption is like, there is also the FEV VATS room too, but I don't know. I'm gonna skip over talking about this one because it's too easy. This thing, I don't even think it even needs description. I'm gonna go to the Burning Mine and talk about the Burning Mine. So, Burning Mine. The Burning Mine's a lot easier than most people realize. A lot of people get confused and get disoriented as can be. But here's my biggest strategy. For the main tunnel system, it's a giant circle. And you use the center points to get between the levels. You can actually do that. A lot of the tunnels and such, they'll lead up to the center points. So a lot of them link with each other. So if you know that, it makes it more simpler. Now, when it comes to uplink and Burning Mine, okay? My recommendation, start off, go left. You have one person diverge from the group, go right to that repeater thing, fix that thing, and then the other people go to the next following one, which is along the same path on the left. And then they get that thing, they activate the thing, because more than likely the time the guy done fixing, you can actually go to the thing and boom, that's it. It's not really that hard, I don't think. But only one person needs to go to the fixing thing. You don't really need another person. It's not really that hard though. But I think uplink's like the only one really needs a description more for that. That's it. Description's too easy. Really say giant circle and people don't get lost. But yeah, once you get to that, you actually go to the second repeater, which basically is. Now, if you're actually at Marsupial, there's a path you can actually hop on the sides of these things, which makes you go quicker instead of running up that god awful hill, basically. But yeah, it's pretty simple. But once you get done with that repeater, you just only need one person to go down. Now, you want two people after that one repeater gets done, though, the final machine, whatever, for uplink, whatever, that final machine gets done, because a bunch of the enemies spawn right there. Most of them are there. There's a few of them beginning area, but most of them kind of converge on that thing, so you can get one person go through that tunnel, another one to the route. It's pretty simple. That's the Burning Mine. Now, Valley Galleria. There's the right path and left path, okay? So what I usually do for the Valley Galleria is you have one person go for the machine and everyone go right. This is my suggestion. I go right. A lot of it's because of the pathing and such, though. Simpler, I guess. But a lot of these like daily apps I'm also suggesting for locations because of the fact of how the enemies will also spawn will matter because of the position when you do it for the last repeater. It matters. For some god-awful reason, it matters. There's no static thing for punch them, but anyways, Valkyrie, you could technically, you could actually activate the repeater and be 4 below, but in all due honesty, both are really good that I don't really think there merits a reason to even do that. So I just stick to that, and that's it. Now, once I get close to the thing, you go, and I just use the route that's above, though. And you can use a bunch of the barricade things to kind of block and obscure things. When you want that, and there's a path, you just walk off the thing. It'll lead you to the thing, and then you just hang a left. And then you lead up to the repeater. Activate that thing, and that's really it. The rest of the stuff, I don't even think it needs a description because it's too easy. I think that's basically it for that one. So here's another one. Watoga Civic Center. That's the Raider Arena. So this one. I guess if we want to go low, the arena part, let's just say this is the tunnel thing that leads on that, and you already got the repeater fixed though. So I usually tend to like go back up the stairs, which is like this is like where you just enter the arena area, and there's stairs on here, this and this way, and I just usually go up the stairs, go to the repeater above, and fix the machine. Only one person needs to be on the top floor for both times. My recommendation: do not be at the top floor, be at the bottom. You could be at the bottom. All you need to do is run to the next side and be on the floor below. It's the same thing. Have one person, once the thing is finished, you literally just run on over. That's it. And then you just literally are the floor below. So the reason why is because the fact of most of the enemies, when you go to the gotta kill waves of enemies, are now on the bottom floor instead of being on the top and bottom and all over the place. Because that is the most annoying thing. And also I found that the enemies tend to bug out and be in walls or some weird locations because of that god-awful reason. Oh, it's annoying when it happens. But yeah. That's the Watoga Civic Center. Now the burrows. The burrows, in all due honesty, is the second hardest. I say second hardest. Uplink. I don't think Uplink needs it. I think everyone literally doing that thing understands it. It's really not that much of a description. It's a pretty simple, cut and dry path I do. It's not anything more than what most people do. It's also the one area that takes a long time. The location that takes about as long as Uncanny Caverns. And Alpha still bugs out for Uncanny Caverns. Takes too long. But yeah, the burrows itself is, what's the best way to put it? Kind of a long path. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, though. There isn't really much to describe about that, though. It's pretty cut and dry, I guess. But my best suggestion is actually learning the path. Like, once you learn it's better. It's easier than you realize. But, like, there is some of the paths, it's easier if you have marsupial, though, or a jetpack. You just, but that's really it. Now, I'm going to go to Watoga High School and talk about that. So, decryption's really easy, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. Quite an open area, I guess. It has a lot of open areas, but it has a bunch of like short corridor things that are kind of thin, so you can kind of lose enemies in some things. But uplink, I'll just basically talk about uplink because decryption is one of those things that's not really that hard. Oh, but what's the best way to describe it? I know. So when you're actually having someone to go fix the machine, you only need one person to do that. The first repeater I always go for, though, is actually, you'll laugh at this, right at the entrance. It's right there. I'm not even joking. It's right there. One person go to the thing. If whoever is the fastest that has marsupial that can jump out that, just go to that thing and just boom, because it's really quick to get to. Now the other one is basically the one to, park your happy butt right at the entrance at the library. Just sit there. Just have yourself at the reception. Start the thing right on when that guy gets it, because more likely you're going to be waiting for that guy to get it anyway, and it's the easiest one. Then afterwards, once it's closed like that, you just go here's the entrance. Like when you're entering, it's not that. Here's like the entrance, and then there's boom, you go to the library. Now there is a path. This is lighting. So when I want to go to the thing, You could actually, like, after you either Peter just have one person go this, keep going straight until you can't go any straight anymore, then you just go left and just keep going along that path. There's two breakaway points you can go that typically goes to the theater. You can pick your choice, basically. You can go through the main entrance, or you can go through the back entrance, which I usually use back entrance point, which is kind of a weird. Yeah, you can learn that one, but it's yeah. Those are the locations I know. The strategy is fairly simple. A bunch of the stuff is not hard. Now I'll talk about the enemy types you can actually encounter. So, Blood Eagles, bunch of rapid weapons on things. They have also dog, which blocker is pretty useful against they do use a bunch of explosives, Molotovs, and such so as well. Fireproof is pretty good. Ricochet is really extremely useful for literally every type of enemy, like literally every single group of enemy shoot something or whatever. So Ricochet is like a no-brainer. The rest is that the final boss for the Blood Eagles is the guy with a auto grenade launcher. Usually the strategy by him is just get up close because he doesn't like to shoot when you're close, or he misses horribly. Next, I'll talk about the I'll talk about the Communist. So, Communist, in all due honesty, in all respects, is the most hardest enemy group to ever encounter. Why? Is because the very types they have. There is both humanoid, there is both ghoul, and then there's robots. So you can't just speculate on one or the other. You just, yeah, they're pretty powerful, organized. But then you also have the ghouls, which are more rush you, and those can actually mess up a game and will change you in a way. The robots are, I guess, a minor nuisance to a major nuisance in a way. Kind of annoying in its own way, but that's the Communist. They're the hardest because of that, though. But for deployment, for how well they can take you on, I think they're the hardest I've ever seen. And even the way people have handled, I've seen more people had issues with Communists than the ones. There is a second worst, by the way, which is, I'm going to go into it, is the Mothman cultist, because, well, Mothman is considered a bug insect, and the cultists are human. So, two different ones, you can't just go for one another. So, anyways, I'll say this, so, Mothman's attacks are typically considered an explosion and ballistic, so, Fireproof works against the actual attacks he does, so yeah. It's not terribly hard, though. Even during decryption, it doesn't really hit too hard. It's mostly the other enemies that hit harder, though, which, I don't know, it's pretty simple, cut and dry, I guess, but they don't. That's basically, I think that's basically the description of them now. So, next one I'll talk about is the Scorched. So, there's two enemy types that are technically the easiest, though, if under certain circumstances you detect that. So, Scorch is actually one of the easiest, and there's a reason why. There's an actual 8 item you can actually take, which is part of the Wastelanders questline. So you can get this from anyone else, or you can do the questline and get the recipe yourself and make the drink yourself, which is called there's 3 names for it: either Nuka Vaccinated, Nuka Scorched, or Nicole My Blood. I usually when I do that deal, I actually tend to have a bunch of them on me, so I usually drop them for people so that they take less damage. You can believe your personal things or whatever other things, so, but The drink itself has no negative, so there is nothing else you lose from it. It will make you take less damage for a period of time, and the period of time tends to be longer than the actual daily ops, so it actually has a really good time for it, though. There's also insect repellent, but I don't ever use it. No one really uses insect repellent. But anyways, that's the Scorch though, and there's not really much else to say. Next one is robots. Robots tend to hit hard, pretty much. And not to mention, they do a mixture between ballistic and energy weapons, and you have some enemies that will do melee. But, yeah. I think it's pretty simple on that. Triple shooters is usually the best thing against those robots, though. The final enemy is basically a heavily modified Assaultron, which even during like a blink can really hit hard, and I'm not even joking. It is very powerful. Now, I'm going to go and switch up to talk about Supermans. Supermans are a mixture of ballistic as well as energy, and they also have melee attacks. So you get some enemies, some of them with like a minigun or whatever that fire fast, and those ones are usually the most dangerous during decryption. So yeah, but during uplink, it's a lot of times like a lot of these enemies are more dumbed down, so simpler, I guess you say. What else must I say? Final boss would be the hardest thing, but that's it. Now, now here comes the mole miners. Mole miners are the weakest group because there's no thing that's like the communists. There's nothing that just goes specifically for all of them lumped together. It's the same thing for the mole miners. They're not considered a supermutant, even though I think they're kind of a typo, but they're an FEV creation that's pretty sure contaminated with ultrasign and various other things. And some unknown experimental tech, though. They're pretty simple, I guess. If you have problems with mole miners, it's really not that good. But yeah, that's basically it for that. Next, I'll talk about the mutations. Piercing gaze. Contrary to popular opinion about piercing gaze, this is part of uplink, by the way. You can potentially sneak, though, but it's a bit weird and difficult. It still, most times your stealth is broken anyway, so you're not stealthing. Piercing strike is like contrary pump. They're not weapons that go through your armor, so your armor value will matter. Now I'm going to talk about one that a lot of people are afraid of, which I have no problems whatsoever with it. Active camo. So active camo is a stealth field. It bends light around you to kind of make you try to blend into your environment. It kind of works and kind of doesn't. Kind of doesn't in the fact of if there's a light source nearby, the light refracts off it and gives you away. You look like a light up Christmas tree for me. I see you. So something like a thrown flare or shot flare or whatever, anything that produces a light source nearby will give away the position. And that's basically it. You can't advance with it, that's basically it, but so what? I can still manually aim and point my general direction towards you and hit you. I could still hit you in the face That's a real reality. Now, I'll say about freezing touch. Freezing touch. So, here's a fact about the thing. There's two things. There is the freezing damage, and then there's a freezing effect. The freezing effect is not affected whatsoever by resistance vectors towards freezing. So, if you think having freezing resistance, like numbers on your like damage resistance also matters for that, I hate to break it to your bubble, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't work for that. Unfortunately, there are only two ways that freezing resistance works. One is a degraded version, which is basically you being in power armor. But the other one is actually a 9% reduction, which is a mod called Pneumatic. Pneumatic actually helps against staggers, and freezing, for some odd reason, is considered a stagger effect. So, yeah. You will literally be able to run plowing right through enemies if they're mass shooting, and I've done it. Although I've actually had, the mod has had times where it's broken, so you'd have to unequip and re-equip the armor just to make it work right. Yeah, it's excellent. Now, group gen is basically, well, enemies are around each other, they'll heal each other. But if they're isolated, they're not healing each other. And if there's too many enemies around, I hate to burst your bubble, but you're probably not going to kill them really easily. Even some of the most powerful anything. You got like 8 enemies together, you're not killing squat. Not likely, no. Unless you can actually surpass the damage threshold of their health, basically. But even worse one is Resilient, which is the combo which I fear the most. Only time. So, which leads to the aspect about Resilient. Resilient is basically, if you're not meleeing them, if you're just shooting them, they added a feature so you'll know there's like a little shield icon, meaning they're vulnerable. That means that you do enough damage where they can be meleeed to death or bashed. You can bash with your weapon and just. Now, I kind of wish that this is why I think it would be slightly better if the game had instead of just a bash and specific target point on the thing, that it had a slight sweep, like a sweep instead of just a single point dot thing. That way the sweep will basically a general swing area, like when you're swinging an axe, like that, kind of like that, but just basically put it as because most of the time you're blending with the thing, so basically like an elbow's length. If they had a sweep between the target range, that would be actually really great. That's my recommendation for the Resilient for Bash, though. Just a thought, though. Now, swift-footed. They move faster, but I'm going for totally different reason. Swift-footed tends to be the most buggiest because often enemies will run through objects so fast before the game realizes they're not supposed to, and they get stuck there. Yeah, that's basically it. It's the most buggiest. Even if you did reports, they are aware of this issue and they are trying to work on it. I can definitely say that. Toxic blood. Now, toxic blood is the next one. Toxic blood is a giant poison cloud. If you don't have poison resist, you're going to take a lot of damage, more than likely, and it kills people quite often enough. And often I'm one running team medic, and I have full health builds for all things, and I run medic with all my characters, so I am used to it. And you got a person like me has either between 100 and 140 regular stim packs. Super stim packs is around the same amount, and that's perfectly fine. for a medic build. May depend on other people though. But yeah. Now, toxic blood, in all due honesty, there was a change they did one day for toxic blood that made a lot of the particle effects on it though stronger, more pronounced. That was when they actually made adjustments to explosion radius. It affected that as well. I'm thinking the same thing, but I have an issue with this though, because often toxic blood causes people to hard crash because of the particle effects on it. I think it's probably the density, but at the same time, it's the only mutation, if it's in combo with active chemical, that I have problems seeing enemies in the field. Like, I can't see Jack Squat even if they don't in the field. Poison Cloud is one of those things that you can lose an enemy in the cloud, and just like, where are they now? Like, it just killed a bunch of enemies during Christian, and you know there's like one or two enemies that's in the cloud, and you're like, where are they? Oh dear God, I'm gonna get killed because I can't see them. But yeah, that's basically that. Now, volatile. Volatile is basically kill an enemy, they explode. Doesn't matter on thing. Now, I do know that, as funny as it would be, this would be a funny but cruel joke to do people Brazilian volatile. That would be cruel. But I believe that, if I remember right, that's actually an impossible combo. They did not allow it to exist, so you should not see it ever. But yeah. But yeah, I think that's all the things, and yeah. But overall, one thing I'll say about like the episode, like, encountered quite a bit of people though. Some really cool people. Of course, you get a bunch of people that are kind of afraid of the op, like, oh dear God, or they don't know what they're doing, and they just wander off. I was like, stay in the area for uplink. Like, stick around. But yeah, as the replacement for, well, I might as well discuss about the thing another time though. I'll probably likely discuss about like the vault raids another time, and same thing as nuclear winter and survival mode as well. But there's various talking points about those though. But I'm pretty sure like survival mode will be shorter, same as nuclear winter. Probably the vault raids as well. Maybe. I don't know. I did all three, but yeah. But yeah, that's basically it. I do hope for a third daily ops, kind of like a. Can't think of like a caravan guard thing though, or maybe a tagging thing. I don't know, like tagging for research and whatnot. I guess just a thought process, though. But I think that's it. 44 minutes. But, yep. I hope people enjoy it.